Yeah, my base idea is technically when I have content like photos, texts, and something like that, how could I build something to share this with my friends in an indie web comfortable and technically feasible way? And maybe something. My base idea for now was something like content stays on your own domain. So I would post as normal, site with a picture or something like that. But then I don't have this public so that everyone can reach it, but something where I can say special people have access to it. And in an in the best case, these people could be people who have indie out and also people who don't have indie out. But I think there is something to is a point where you can distinct between technically maybe, but beyond that I have no ideas how to do it.
Yeah, I've experimented a little bit with this so far. I don't have it live on my site right now, but I had an implementation on my previous site, but I lost it when I rebuilt the site. I haven't rebuilt that part yet. But basically every post can have its own access control list, and it says these are the URLs that are able to view this post. So if you hit the URL with no authentication, then it says you must log in to see it. And once you log in, if the URL you log in as, this is IndieAuth, if it's in that list, then you can see it. And I've had some thoughts about, I haven't rebuilt it in my site because of what you're saying of I don't want to limit it to IndieAuth URLs. I do actually want to support people logging in with Twitter or Facebook or other things. So I haven't totally thought that through yet. But my current thinking, and let me know if this sounds crazy, my current thinking is I could just put a Twitter URL in the access control list.
Yeah,
right.
That was my idea too.
And then I can have a login form that is not just a IndieAuth login box, but it also has a Twitter button. And I think I actually would put a Twitter button because I wouldn't expect someone who only has a Twitter account to type in twitter.com/username.
Why not?
It's one more thing to explain.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned before. Is that whole
and like for logging into Telegraph, I don't mind having the barrier be understand that you're typing in a URL, right? But for logging in, for viewing, if I'm just going to send someone a link and be like, hey, if you log in, you'll be able to see this. I don't want to have to explain, oh, no, you have to type in a full URL. Oh, you have to include HTTP, right? Like, I just want it to work. So I think I would actually put a Twitter button and a Facebook button on that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then basically there's a few options. There's a domain name box, a Twitter button, a Facebook button, maybe a GitHub button, and then however you log in, the end result gets mapped to a URL that looks up in the list. And I think that would work pretty well.
And in order to...
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have something like that live on my site, so I can show if you would.
Yeah.
Please, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it long enough? Oh yeah. Sure.
Oh, that's really long.
Let's see how this works. Does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instantly.
This is yeah, so I got this post about it. I was doing the 100 days and I skipped that for some reason. But this is a private post, and I believe this one is everyone who was at the time of writing on the list of the IRC people. Those people can log in and actually see this. So if I go zeblog.nl, log in, oh, I need to get an URL. Yeah, this is the HTTP stuff. Let's see what it does. Then it's going to do all these things.
And this
This comes
uses indieauth.com.
just uses indieauth.com.
Hardcoded indieauth.com.
Yeah, and I'm going to change that, but now I know what. It's the first time that I
So you're
really
using
got the
the
difference
second role
between
of indieauth.com as the developer tool.
Yeah. I believe GitHub put. So I'm now authenticating as a thing, and I'm not redirected to the right post. That's nice. Yeah, but now the page did because I'm now logged in as seplog.nl, and so here is a and it's this word here signifies that it's in fact a private post that only you can see because you're logged in. It's not really. It should be something more, but this is a way to go. And on the other hand, if you because I keep losing this page, right? Yeah. So now I'm logged off, and here is the Twitter button. So I can also do the Twitter thing, and I believe and because my Twitter username is not on the list because it's not on IRC people, I get no access. So it's the same post, but now.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can you keep different lists of users?
Yeah, at this moment posts? I have. Yeah, but this is also where because at this moment I just have a separate field, and it's just a long list of all the different people that. But I kind of want to have also a list that I can say, oh yeah, this is for the list of friends, so I can manage friends. But that's an all different project, of course. I
think so. That was also. So it's funny. This is that's pretty much exactly how I was thinking about building it. So I think that's a good validation of the idea. And then that was the next step as well. I was like, but I don't want to have to put the full list in every time.
Yeah.
But it seems like a short path to that would be make a URL on my site that is a list of URLs.
Yeah.
And if one of the items in this list is a URL on my site that has more users,
in theory, I could change this to be indieweb.org/IRC people,
exactly.
which is a list of H cards. And then I didn't want to do that because then I have a list that I don't control and with access, and it's a silly thing. But I actually don't mind not being able to control it for certain things. Yeah, maybe.
Because I actually sometimes want someone else to maintain the list, right?
Yeah, this might be.
It is. I like that the indieweb.org/IRC people list is self-maintained, and that I don't have to have my own copy of everybody in IRC. I would like to delegate that management out.
That's right.
And obviously, there's some lists that I absolutely do want to control, right?
Sure.
But then I can just make a page on my site that is that list. But I think having one of the items in the access control list be a list of H cards is a very good pattern, and you can either use URLs off of your domain or only use ones on your domain.
Yeah, what would be really nice would be a kind of a request access feature where you could authenticate yourself, but it would. I mean, it's just has nothing to do with the protocol, but you'd have like a waiting list for people who say oh, put me on your list of friends.
Yeah, like this screen could have I do a button but I do want to get access,
exactly,
and then it mails me with whatever they logged in.
Because managing URLs is particularly if it starts to become Twitter URLs and GitHub URLs and everything becomes messy, right? So you want people to just sign up, and then they sign up themselves, and you don't really have to manage it. You just have to kind of accept on your admin interface. That'd be really nice.
Yeah.
Does Shriver mean writer or coder?
Sorry.
Schrijver?
Schrijver is, that's writer.
Writer, not coder.
No, that's the nerd part.
Yeah, okay, I see, yeah.
That's pretty nice. So, and how would you mix that with, say, a non-indie web component. So you want all your tech-savvy friends to be able to become your friends, but you also want your parents to be able to get on the friends list and get the pictures.
So, and that's assuming some other way besides Twitter and Facebook
Yes.
and in the off?
Just like something that is like, what's the simplest form for...
Probably the most universal form
email?
after that is email.
And
After Twitter,
email
Facebook.
would just be, you get a magic link that
You
gives
get a
you a
magic link,
session, and whenever you lose your session, you can
You just
request
get
another
like-
magic link.
Totally. Yeah, so you could just put an email address in the list as well.
Right, request that, you would say yes, sure, those are friends, that email is friends, and then with your first approval they'd get the magic link, and then whenever they request it again they'd get the magic link, something like that.
Is there a way to immigrate? Maybe I have a friend who has, at the time of writing, just Facebook, and later they add the real me link on their Facebook page to their owned domain, and is there a way
That starts
to
getting
switch
tricky.
over?
Yeah,
yeah.
that starts getting
Yeah.
getting into all sorts of edge cases of how that
That's
stuff is
mine.
managed.
How did you do that?
In audio you can select your
Select
internal speakers.
Internal, but it's on internal already.
Oh, it goes through HDMI, so it's just automatically internal?
I don't know.
Shouldn't. Interesting.
There's a difference between system sounds and sound and
Oh.
setup. So you can say, I want my system sounds on this device, but the sound on this device.
Okay, well, I can also just pull the cable out. Where it doesn't. But yeah, that's.
But yeah, I think
Migrating
migrating
identities.
migrating identities is always a hard problem, and
But that's why you want, in some cases, the list to be managed by someone else. But
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, so you don't have a problem with your list, but it's still interesting for the person who migrated their identity, because they have loads of comments
yeah, well,
that came in.
if they
on
come from a silo to their own online identity, then that's a step you have to take. But once they have the control over their own identity, they can
Yeah.
have whatever they want, and then you can follow.
It'd still be nice to have kind of a way to spread that information, like ID yourself as both and say what's canonical now, and those who can or want would retro upgrade. But that means that everybody would have to implement kind of a retro upgrade feature. It's kind of weird, and it kind of kills the history of the web, right? It kind of, because you posted that as facebook.com/username.
yeah, I think the request access feature actually is a nice way to avoid the problem, more or less, because if someone could then log in as their website later and be like, why can't I see this? And then, but there's a request access button, then at least like that will sort of help smooth out the account migration issues.
Yep.
Other field is on the point of spreading the information. How about RSS feeds? Is there a way
Feeds,
to
yeah.
integrate this into feeds?
So yeah, we've talked about permalinks only
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
which is a great start. But getting that into feeds is another problem. RSS has more baggage around it than necessary to talk about this. So the simpler thing to talk about first is so after you've authenticated, like from one of my permalinks, if you go to my homepage, maybe you should be seeing a different list of posts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because it knows who you are, and it can just generate that list of posts customized for you. Maybe there's a special page on my site that is like shows only the posts that are access control is restricted to you. So there's any number of these different feeds you can present people after their cookie.
Mm-hmm.
And now that works great for a website, but there's a problem of getting that into any sort of reader, regardless of what format the feed is in. And that's somehow the reader needs to authenticate as you when it fetches it. And either fetching the RSS feed or fetching the HTML off of the homepage. And I think that's a really interesting problem too. and I don't think we have a well-tested solution for that yet, but there's something with token exchanges behind the scenes you can do to make it work. I just haven't quite figured it out yet. But basically what you need to do is you need to be able to get, so let's say you use Woodwind. You've logged into Woodwind, so it knows who you are. When Woodwind fetches my feed, it needs to do it with an access token that represents you, that probably my site generated, because I don't necessarily want to be verifying arbitrary tokens. So I want to issue a token to Woodwind for you. So there's, I'm almost sure that there's already a spec for this in the OAuth working group, because they have a ton of specs for doing much crazier things than this, but I haven't found it yet. But it's basically like a delegated access token, right? So you can log into Quill as you, but so far all we've done with these tokens is posting back to your own site. We need to be able to log into an app and have it post to something else, send a request to something else. So I'd be interested in trying to solve that. But the nice thing is that there's all these much simpler problems to do first, of like get permalink authentication working, because you don't even need to generate dynamic feeds in order to have private posts, right? Then generate a different list of posts on your homepage based on who's logged in. But that's a different problem, and depending on how your site's built, it may be hard, right? So permalink authentication is straightforward. Then you can change your feeds based on who's logged in. And then you get the server-to-server feed fetching with authentication. But I like that there's some easier wins first. I do want to experiment with it. And the thing about these kinds of specs is it's more useful if you have somebody else that you can work with, because you always need two people in this system for it to make any sense, for it to do anything. It's not super useful to just test private posts with yourself.
Yeah. You can all see it if you're on the list, but it's.
I did just log in. It's great. Anybody else experimented with private posts of any sort, sharing to any sort of limited groups? How about examples on silos people have used private groups for?
Well, on Facebook you already have this only to friends option, so that's one.
Yeah.
So that's access control on a per post, but there's also groups that you can post in, which is different from posting on your sort of
sometimes
home
hide posts from my grandma, which
Google Plus has the circles.
Yeah, Google Plus
And
has the
I
circles.
use them a lot. I used them a lot, but now they made them so user unfriendly and so hard to organize and find. I like the UI where you had these circles and could drag them and could drag
is that gone now?
people. It's gone. Yeah, it's totally gone. Yeah. Basically, Google Plus is going.
Yeah, the management of these lists is always that's kind of what stopped me from using Google Plus, really, because it became too much of a chore to maintain those lists.
Exactly.
And that's another one of the reasons why I like the idea of delegating the management to somebody else, like the wiki, or somebody else's website who I trust to maintain the list for whatever reason. Guest lists for events.
Would you delegate it to Facebook?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I had a private group on Facebook that I knew was being maintained by a community, I would let anybody who's got access to that group log in to see certain posts.
If I get it right, the idea behind the list is it's just a simple page with card entries. So it's from the idea it's a normal website. Could I do the whole Mountie and use private groups in the way that I use for a private post? So the group itself is not accessible to it.
Oh, the list of users not
Yeah.
not accessible?
Yeah, there was another. You can.
Yeah.
You can give only people who are on the list access to the list.
Yes.
For example,
Yeah,
totally.
that's one way to go, and you can give only your own site access to the list.
Because the idea of the list itself, it's information maybe that not everyone wants to be.
It's not
open.
always appropriate to have these lists public. For the IRC people page, it's fine, but there's some situations where you don't want the list public. In order for that to work, you just need your server to be able to fetch the list.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's your server, it can authenticate. At least theoretically, it can authenticate as you to that list. You just have to agree on the mechanism for doing that.
Yeah, you don't even have to do a get in some. It depends on your way of storing the list, but you can also just grab the list from wherever you store it.
I mean, I would implement this as like I'm gonna cache it locally.
Yeah.
Just refresh it periodically, but I want some automated way to fetch it with authentication. I think so. I have a couple of Facebook groups that I'm in that are secret, like totally invisible groups, and I'm also wondering how I can replicate that kind of thing on my site and do that in an IndieWeb way where the posts don't live in a normal feed. They're not part of my main home feed. Even if you are someone in that group and you go to my homepage, you don't see the posts. So it's a totally its own little mini thing.
It's like an authenticated feed with a filter for just posts that are with this kind of.
Okay. I haven't put a lot of thought into that yet, but it's something that I do want to get to eventually.
Yeah, another way might be to, this is more some steps back, but to have a URL that's unguessable. So you have a post, and with an unguessable URL, you give the URL only to people you know. It's not really, if the URL leaks out, then the photo is public, but it's sometimes it's good enough.
Sometimes it's good enough, definitely. I mean, Google Docs does this. You can create a Google Doc that can even a link that can edit the Google Doc, and it doesn't require any other authentication. If you have the link, you can edit the doc.
I can't recommend it. We put Google Docs and we put the proposals for Dojo on Google Docs with this kind of link because we trusted in openness and things like Wikipedia, and it took, I don't know, three weeks or so, and the first kiddie destroyed everything. It wasn't bad because we had everything backup, and so but
that's frustrating though.
Yeah,
it works for some things, but it's not appropriate for everybody. And like if the URL gets leaked for whatever reason, then that's it.
Yeah, it depends on the information you want to share. Yeah, but it is an option which is even less work to make. So it could be a first step.
That's actually a good point.
It's not exactly a first step because it doesn't bring you to the next step, but
sure. But it's a
step.
It's a step. No, that is a totally valid. It's a good point. Is that if what your goal is to have photos on your site that you're sharing with only a few people, then make an unguessable URL and send it via email, right? Like, then all they have to do is click the link. It works great. Flickr actually has this, the guest pass.
Yeah.
What they call it.
Right.
You can make a guest pass and have it. You can allow either certain photos or certain sets of photos to be accessible via the guest pass, and then anybody with that link can see them. It's a perfectly valid pattern. I think it's a good point that it actually is one of the easier ones to do because you don't even have to. There's no authentication. There's no access control lists. It's just create. I mean, you can even do it on a static site. You just make a really long file name. Right. That's kind of the cool thing. Very low technical barriers to do that. That reminded me. I wanted to mention because this actually has been implemented by a few people now. The idea of private web mentions.
Yeah, I have that too. It
Yeah.
was step for one for the private web mention.
Yeah,
And then
right,
next,
exactly.
I believe 2 days after I had private web mention.
So yeah, there's this is written as a spec, and the do you want to plug back in and pull up the spec?
Yeah, do you want? Or?
Sure.
What is your site running on?
Kirby. But I modified something. I believe I got the web mention, my web mention plugin for Kirby has on GitHub a branch with the experimental private web mention, but
nice.
because it relies on having this private post thing, I cannot get it in the main branch because it will break stuff.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the idea with the private web mention is it's like before private posts, before actual authentication with identification, private web mention works, and it's sort of after just an unguessable URL that you send via email. It's essentially an unguessable URL that you can send via web mention, right? Like you don't need to know that someone logs in as a certain domain name. There's no login step, and there's no like account or anything. But the way it works is you send a web mention, and then when they go to fetch the page, it responds with, you need to
I believe 401.
401 authentication required, the one that says you can try again with authentication. But in the web mention that I sent, I actually include a temporary code. So you recognize that, and you can actually go and exchange it for a token that can be used to verify, to fetch that post. So this is one of those flow diagrams that always looks scarier than they actually are. But so this is, let's say I'm Alice sending a web mention to Bob. So like normal, I will discover the web mention endpoint, and I send the web mention. But instead of just source and target, I also send a code, and I say, you're going to need this. If you recognize the code immediately, you can skip getting that rejected page and just do the code exchange. So you come back and find the token endpoint, and notice that this discovery happens at the source URL, which means there's no like domain level thing or profile thing. It's just, I sent a web mention from this source. You check the source and find out the token endpoint for that source. And then that says, hey, go over here. You exchange the code for the access token, and now you fetch the source again with the access token. And now you've got the source document. So it's a nice flow because it makes no assumptions about users or domain names or like one user per domain, multiple users per domain. None of that is even part of this, because all it involves is the source URL the page was from. And the result is an access token that can be used to fetch that post. And that access token doesn't even have to have a user associated with it. It can be a one-time use access token. So it's really easy to implement on the sender's side as well, because if you want to make these things one-time use, you can. If you want to make them more like session cookies where it can be reused a bunch, you can. It leaves a lot of flexibility for implementation. This other parameter realm is in there because you can actually skip the token exchange on the second web mention. So if I send a web mention to you with a realm, the same realm as one that you've seen before, you can assume that any token that you previously got from that realm will work again.
Nice.
So that means if we're having a conversation back and forth, we only have to do the token exchange once, and then we can just keep sending web mentions. So I want more people to implement this. There's already several.
Is it possible to use this for some kind of friend request? And the idea, like, I would send you a web mention with my homepage to your homepage, And then you have a code that you can reuse to, for example, get private post from my side. Or
Totally.
something like
And I
that.
think that's a great building block step off of this. Yeah, if I send source my homepage, target your homepage, then you could. So where's the request part of that? The friend request.
Me sending you a web mention.
I could not. Yeah. So if you sent me a web mention,
At that point, you know there's a connection between us two, and you
Mhm.
have code that you can exchange for a notification token at my endpoint. Maybe I don't need this.
I think to correctly use the semantics of web mention, the best way to make it an explicit friend request would be to set up one page where with a micro format you say, okay, this is a friend request
Oh,
maybe with
okay.
some information, so where you send a message to that other person. Because I think with the private web mention, there was also some ideas to use it for private messaging. So in that case, you could set up like private message with some info that marks it as a friend request, and then send a web mention with that to the other person's homepage. That could work.
so if I have a private content on my homepage and you want to find it, and let's say you know there's additional content that you would be able to see if I approved it, and I don't have a whitelist with you in it already, you want to request that. So you need to make a request where the result of that I issue a token to you. So the next time you come back to my homepage, you get that, get the private content. So you could send a web mention to my homepage where the source of that is a post that is a request post, right? But I'm not sure where that code issuing comes from.
No, it would only work the other way around, because I need a token to access content on your side, not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. It might be a different spec then.
So it's more like sending a web mention would be like you informing me that you allow me access to some resources. And
That's right.
how I get you to do that with me is a totally other
That's right.
question. And
So once I accept your friend request, I could use this spec to get you a token.
Yeah.
Which means that really all you need to do is just send a web mention from a page that is a friend request post, because then I'll get notified of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have some UI somewhere where I click approve and it sends you a web mention back in this flow. So that's how it builds on it. That seems doable. And that first post doesn't even need to be private.
No.
I mean, also it could be.
Yeah. And it's still a
'Cause you
directed
would-
thing, because you giving me access to your content doesn't include you having access to my content, so
Right.
it's
Yeah.
totally open how you want to implement it. And there's still room to have use the same kind of technique to allow access to specific content, just one realm or just one URL.
Mhm. Mhm. So one of my thinkings was this realm parameter. As far as the spec is concerned, it has no, it's opaque, it doesn't mean anything, but you could very easily imagine this as a URL. And if I wanted to give you access to only one post, I could send it realm equals the URL of that post. But if I wanted to say give you access to my everything or my homepage, I could say realm equals aaronpreki.com/. And then that would just mean that you could
Everything.
assume that anytime you want to fetch a URL that matches the realm, or the realm is a substring of it, then you can send that token and you might get additional data.
Why are these steps 3 and 4 necessary? Why don't you send the access token in step 2? Is there any security? Okay, that's
Yep.
what it is.
That is that is a common question. So when I'm sending a web mention to him, first of all, I don't know if he accepts private, I don't know if he understands private web mentions. And he didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
So if I were to issue a token immediately and send it, I'm essentially sending it somewhere that isn't ready for it.
Okay.
And I can't actually trust that he won't do something with it.
Yeah.
Like it might get logged by a proxy, it may be shown on the comment that I send, like who knows, right? If he wasn't expecting it. So the idea with the code is that it's a short-lived thing. If it leaks, no big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
And it avoids me having to issue long-standing tokens to unsolicited people. I'm interested in the friend request thing, but I feel like that's I don't think I'm ready to build anything there because it's like one step past all these other things. We have where we had that ordering of the ease of implementation. So,
point 0 was something like
capability URLs, which is unguessable.
Yeah, something like personal, time-based, or one-time URLs.
And then
could you put in one, for example, one time? Because unguessable, there's really a problem with unguessable URLs because I made an analytics from URL shorteners like Bitly, where my machines frequently scanned it, and once an unguessable link becomes in 4 characters or so, it is pretty easy to guess.
Don't shorten them.
Yeah, of course, but I won't, but I'm not sure about my friends, you know.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's a lot of risks to that, but you can...
Yeah, you can do it's personal, like one for you, or time-based, or one time.
The best is one time, I think, because...
Which is actually kind of like the off-code idea, because you're probably going to cookie them so that they can keep browsing, which is essentially a code exchange step, which is exactly why this code exchange pattern keeps coming up in all these specs. So we had that, and then we had actual access control on permalinks, requiring login. So either IndieAuth or Twitter, GitHub, email, etc. But that's an actual login step, which is beyond just sending someone a URL. Then we had add private posts to your feeds, your homepage.
Yeah, based on who's logged in.
Based on who's logged in. Cookies. And then we need some way to have feed reader fetching these feeds on behalf of users.
Would be nice.
And HTTPS would be a prerequisite?
Pretty much for everything. Yeah. I mean, it's a prerequisite for using cookies effectively.
Yeah,
so
of course,
pretty much. Private web mention fits into here somewhere. I think it's between here and here. So it's not quite logging people in, and it's better than the unguessable URL.
It's already a kind of token-based thing.
Yeah. And then the last thing was
on the horizon, like friend lists and friend requests, something like that. Something.
Which feed readers fetching feeds authenticated is useful by itself, and then friend requests sort of builds on that because it will let those happen seamlessly, basically. Because without the friend request step, you have to have some other way to get someone into a list of, so the feed reader can fetch it. Like I would have to basically put your address into my software somewhere so that when you fetched it with whatever token was generated from that, it would work. It would be nicer if you had a button where you could friend request me and then I could approve it with another button.
Do we have the middle step with the external or separate groups?
Yeah, that I think was after access control for permalinks. Then we have
where you don't input the persons directly, but reference a URL with the persons on it.
Yeah,
That
I
might
called
be
audience,
external or
the field
internal.
Audience,
Mhm.
but it's, yeah.
I think that's a pretty good ordering of these. So I'm only at here, and I need to get access control and permalinks back because I used to have it. Yeah. Then I want to add group access control, and then changing what posts go into my home feed is a very different problem. There's design decisions to be made in order to do that. And I don't think anything below the list, anything friend requests won't be useful until I have everything above it, right? Like there's no point in me implementing friend requests right now because it won't do anything until I support everything above it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody interested in hacking on this kind of stuff tomorrow?
I would love to, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to also. I don't know how much, I don't know how quickly I can do the next step.
Yeah, I realize that I'm only halfway to the private mention. Because
Oh, I thought you had private
I
web
only send them and I don't receive them.
Oh, okay.
So there's work on that.
Right. This was all about generating content. This is all about generating content, not receiving content.
Yeah, that's also. Well,
'Cause
feed reader fetching.
Receiving one-time URLs, there's no work.
Yeah.
Receiving for this, there's no work. There is some work for private web mentions. There's actually less work for this one to receive it because it's all browser based, so you just log in. Feed readers requires extra work to receive it because you need to be able to have the feed reader deal with your tokens. Well, I mean, so I don't think I can build any of these out tomorrow, but I could potentially write a spec for something that's missing tomorrow. That's actually how private web mention happened. That was in September in Brighton. A couple of us had a after hours session where we hashed out some of the details and then wrote it up the next day. I could probably do that for friend requests if you're interested in fleshing that out.
Sounds interesting, yeah.
Make a note of that. That's a potential hack day project. What else? Anything else? Anybody else have any totally unrelated ideas relating to groups that we haven't talked about?
Yeah. I'm kind of in the but this is an whole other topic, so maybe I should save it for a whole other thing. But I'm kind of having two languages on my side, and like I have some English and most of it is Dutch, and I also have different topics. Like I sometimes, not often, write something about code, and more often than not about other things. But yeah, this is also a sort of groups and thing, but I think it's not really that related after all. But it's a kind of filtering your content with certain users who maybe are interested in some other things. But it's
Do you have those on different URLs right now?
No, at this moment I just have my blog. And but what I did, if you go to the homepage, then I have this thing that gets all the blog stuff, and then
and these are
the English posts, and those are English blog posts. But if you click on the word English, then you get also the English notes.
Oh, so you do have a page called English.
Called English. Yeah. So for different languages, I do have different pages, and I guess I could use.
What's another one you would have?
No, I don't have
no other language.
No. The blog is just. I believe I filter all the English posts are filtered out of this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is.
I think URLs is a totally acceptable way to do that.
Yeah, maybe I should.
Although it does mean that someone following you then has to decide which URL to follow, because you have multiple.
It's kind of
which is maybe okay, but maybe not. I'm actually kind of on the fence about whether that's a good thing to do or not.
I don't know.
I have a ton of different URLs on my site. They're just not segmented by
language.
I
saw that.
So I have articles, notes, photos, check-ins,
and the health,
transport,
and
health, food.
Yeah.
Some of the posts overlap multiple of these, but they're not sorted by language. I don't have enough non-English posts to have a separate thing for them.
Well, yeah, the English posts are only the 100 days of IndieWeb posts, but not all. There are some that don't belong to that series, but
yeah.
But it's like if I want to tweet about IndieWeb, then it's already that's the
So I've made a decision about which posts to show on my homepage. So if you just follow my homepage in a reader, you're going to get only a subset of the posts on my website. Yeah. And I've decided what posts to put there. You didn't decide that as a reader. You can also follow any of my other pages, right? Even /all, which is everything, which is a ton of posts. So if you don't do anything special, you get a reasonable view of what I write, because it's things I've decided are important.
Yeah, you do the
I've done the filter.
Yeah.
I think that works great for the sort of post type segmented things. I'm not sure that makes as much sense for different languages.
No, yeah, I could try to detect the language of the user and
they're
do
going to
stuff
send an
with
accept
that,
header or accept language, right?
I've just written a module which detects 730 languages. In Node.js it was much work. And it has meta informations for more than 7,000 languages. But
that would be an interesting way to do it, and then you could serve different posts in the feed depending on the language header.
Yeah.
But it's kind of unrelated, I guess.
Kind of. It's similar in some ways.
But this is the same with what I showed you with the multilingual IndieWeb. It first detects the language of the browser, and you can always select another one. I think it is a common pattern. Because the only thing is if you are in a foreign country and sit in an internet cafe, but
Yeah.
usually then it
you
will be in English.
Yeah, I'm not going to write Chinese posts, so
Yeah.
I'm going to serve them Chinese version of my website.
You're missing one word.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, cool. I think we're almost at the end of this anyway, but I'll try to take some notes about the multi-language post because I think it's an interesting use case with a little bit of overlap.
Yeah,
with groups.
yeah, maybe I'll go to Nuremberg as well. I will write a post about it.
Oh, cool. Next up in this room is onboarding, and the other room is gallery images and photos.
It is an own module, it's crazy.
Oh my god.
This one is 1,700 and half of them is
Stories?
journalist.
No
Ich hab
more
was geguckt.
fiction stories.
Ich habe höhere
Dutch,
Helligkeit.
but
Man aber länger öfter angenutzt.
yeah, I haven't been that active.
Ich muss mich aber rechtfertigen.
Ja, klar.
4 years, but now I'm starting again. So
Und? Hast du hingekriegt?
Was jetzt?
Dass der Router läuft.
Achso, ja. Der
Hast du
lief
gepusht?
schon lange.
Always looking for writers.
Nee.
Sometimes I write myself.
Ich habe mal in die
Pretty hard, you can't focus.
Material-Ding reingeguckt.
no.
Da ist nichts bei so für Seitenaufteilung.
Ja.
Kein Grid oder so.
Aber das brauchen wir auch nicht unbedingt.
Das kann man dann selbst machen. Ich hätte mich jetzt nur geärgert, wenn es da was gäbe und ich hätte das nicht genommen, so, wenn es den erklärt hätte. Dann, wenn lieber in dem gleichen Ding bleiben.
What's the dropped that and went on writing, but then I noticed that then there is no coding, so it's kind of
next? So this one is onboarding personas. I didn't catch what that actually is, but we did personas in the old project. I don't know if it's the same. Do you know what this is about exactly?
The way I understood it is it's about onboarding people to the idea of IndieWeb, and so it's like the IndieWeb generation, so different kind of people and how different people can.
So making personas for promoting IndieWeb.
I think so. I'm not exactly sure, but that's the way I use it.
So for the very first experience,
So, und wie sieht der erste Prototyp aus?
Sehr gut.
Hast du zwischendurch schon mal gepusht?
Nee, mach ich jetzt gleich. Ja, ein bisschen am Tweaken.
Versuchst du schon Draft.js einzubauen?
Ich habe Material Design Icons schaden ja nicht, ne? Die Material Design Icons würde ich mal drin lassen.
Ja.
Icons braucht man immer.
Gehen wir nicht auf Optimization.
Nee, die sind halt for free.
Haben wir jetzt gerade gefilmt?
Will?
Das war die ganze Zeit live auf YouTube. Deswegen hast du die ganze Zeit im Hintergrund.
Ja.
Woher weiß ich, auf welchen Branch ich bin? Minus Branch?
Hier gibt es
Ha?
Was?
Uberspace Sticker.
Ja, habe ich nie genutzt. Ich nehme nur Sachen drauf, die ich benutze.
kann nur was placen. Ich musste also erstmal durchlesen, was es ist. Wie schon gesetzt?
Remote rejected.
Schon wieder auf Master gepusht?
Ja. Ich stelle das einfach aus jetzt. Kann ich das machen?
Da du nur Entwickler bist, darfst du das nicht. Soll ich's? Scheiß drauf, warte.
Ja, keine Ahnung.
Unter Settings.
Das soll so raus, ja?
Und dann,
Moment mal.
mein Gott, warum ist jetzt hier versteckt? Repository? Members. Nein, noch nicht. Repository? Repository. Unprotect.
Sven, übrigens das hier. Das ist vorgedruckt.
Ich weiß nicht. Das sieht so ein bisschen aus.
Da hat jemand eine ganz ruhige Hand.
Aber guck dir mal die O's an, die sehen alle gleich aus. Als ob jemand die O's genauso malen könnte jedes Mal.
Ja.
Ha?
So.
I think there are people who are able to do this, but I'm not one of them.
Ich weiß nicht, ja, vielleicht haben die das auch. Aber ich
Ich habe schon gesagt, nächstes Team, da macht es wirklich viel mehr Spaß. Sagt mir die ganze Zeit.
ja, nimm das damit.
Add-on drauf haben und vollständige dazu noch irgendwie einen Cheat oder so.
Nein. Das ist dann bei. Du musst ja auch manchmal auch überlegen.
Achso, muss man noch machen.
Heute.
Ja. Storniert.
Wo macht man das?
Du gehst auf dieses Corporate-Portal und loggst dich ein.
Ich habe keinen Shortcut hierfür.
Ist nicht immer automatisch Command 3. Ich habe einen Background-Test eigentlich. Den nie verbauen. Beziehungsweise nicht die App muss wahrscheinlich laufen. Das ist nie freigeschaltet. Ich habe das doch sogar hier drin. Das ist gehackt.
Ja.
So you say this is something that started with another IndieWebCamp? Or this is something that started with another IndieWebCamp?
Kind of. Well, actually, Yeah, this is probably something we can work on tomorrow.
Mm.
Can talk about.
Yeah, good to talk about. Give us a recap of
Yeah.
what's the thinking behind it. Are you running this one?
You can do.
No, he's going to be over there.
Maybe someone who is the right adapter for that should.
It's just streaming away. He's just going to leave it left it streaming.
Yep, but we could have a look at the wiki and what we documented last time, but I don't have the correct adapter for that, so
I can unmute.
someone with a.
If you would like to, we can.
That's not the wiki.
Because someone's sitting here, right? You get when you go to the.
It's about the option.
Oh, I don't see. Well, it's pretty low down, actually.
IndieWeb.org/2016/Berlin/onboarding.
Like that?
Nice.
Excellent.
Has any one of you been at the IndieWebCamp in Berlin last November? Right? You were.
Yeah.
Have you been in that working group?
Yeah.
Oh, you were.
Yeah. Right next to you.
Sorry, I just know that was Sebastian documenting this, and I'm sorry about this documentation. We were an all-German group, so we were talking German and taking notes in German, and we tried to document it live, but it's a mixture of German and English. So this could be a task of tomorrow, like really putting it into English.
Yeah.
The situation was that we were like, I guess 30 people, and at least half of the people were totally new to the IndieWeb, which gave an interesting discussion in the beginning, because people, I have no idea how they came there, because a lot of them, they just said, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I mean, this was just an event for free, and I thought I'd come along. So they were really, really new, and we were trying to explain what this is all about. And there are a couple of things we discovered. First thing is, I just gave a brief recap of what we did. One of the things was that people were missing a very, very basic introduction in the beginning of the camp. So we basically did the same thing that just happened this morning as well. That was me giving part of a talk I was giving last year, and it happened that I had slides for that. And that was really great for them, and they were really thankful for this short introduction to everything. So we thought it might be a good idea to have this kind of session on every IndieWebCamp in the beginning, and we could also announce that in advance, that there will be something like that, like an introduction for people who are really totally new to that.
So this morning, me and Aaron introducing, I kept it pretty short because I got the feeling that most people here were returning or were already. But I mean, it's still maybe 2 minutes I spent saying like.
Yeah.
Have your
So
words.
we spent the whole session.
Okay.
So this could be interesting to have that as a regular point of the schedule. In general, the discussion it was kind of interesting because you were not there, Aaron wasn't there, Tante wasn't there, you know, all the old guys who started all that, they were absent, which was a really interesting constellation because it was kind of, how to say that? As soon as Aaron or Tante go, you are here, everything's going to a pretty distinct direction. It's pretty straightforward, diving into the techniques and everything, but we kept it much more basic at that time. And people were wondering why it has to be so hard to get into all that. There was that conflict that to put yourself on the wiki, you already have to have something. You have to have a website, and this is kind of
The barrier to entry, definitely.
That's a yeah. It's really a.
So I can give the historical reason why I believe this historical reason is no longer valid.
Yeah.
It was a deliberate barrier to entry. So the way the first IndieWebCamp came about was that Tantek and Aaron had been to an event, sort of about a similar topic, about distributed this and decentralized that. And this is also the reason why IndieWebCamp has the format it does, which is a mixture of discussion and doing. Was that all these people did was discuss, they didn't do anything, and then they set up an email group or something afterwards. And so one of them had a bad experience with an event where the people coming to the event were just not actually interested in doing, setting up their own website and publishing their own website. They were just interested in being at an event and discussing and never doing anything. And so this idea that to come to the event you have to log in with your own website and put yourself on the wiki was intended as a barrier to entry deliberately to keep out people who I guess would have been from their eyes disruptive. Of course what it had as an effect was, well, you're also keeping out all these people who are curious, interested, but now intimidated by the fact that they're supposed to do that. I had a discussion with Tantek about this back to IRC, and he has come around to realize that it's actually now having many more negative effects than any positive effects.
Yeah, so what we decided is what would be really important to open this to a broader audience is to work on some stuff and materials and everything to get people on board and to lower the barrier and to make it a little bit more inviting actually. And then we, instead of writing code on the second day, we started thinking about types of people who could be interested in the indie web in the first place. And we started to develop a couple of personas. If you scroll down a little bit, there should be kind of
this
notes we took. No, and a little, exactly that one. So this is kind of a matrix we started building with different types of people who could be interested. This is the weird mixture of German and English. I'm sorry about that. But probably some words you couldn't translate live.
So just let me clarify here. Is the purpose, is it onboarding into the IndieWeb Wiki, IndieWebCamp events, the community, or is it onboarding to having your own website, publishing your own website?
In the first place, onboarding to the community.
Okay.
Then in the second place, get them active. And as you see, we had 5 different types of people, and the leftmost one, the maker, Bob, we gave them these names. I can just briefly introduce you to them, but you probably should read that if you really want to get hold of what we're talking about. I'll begin from the right. The right person, Tom. This is the super nerd. That's actually Tantek or Aaron. So they're really very focused on what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They develop a lot of ideas, and they're the IndieWeb power users in some way. It's a mixture. The second person, Ellie, she's basically the non-technical user. She's the social media girl talking to her friends, and she's probably the person who's really hard to reach with all that, because she's at the other side of everything. Milena, the middle person, she's working as a UX developer, so she's kind of tech savvy in a certain way, but she's she's probably kind of in between the maker, which is still missing, and the super nerd. And Steven, he's we know we had someone, I don't remember who it was. He's kind of he would be a great multiplayer for everything, because he's publishing and he's a professional in publishing, and he would be really great help of making the idea public. And so we were gathering a couple of properties of these people. If you scroll down, you will find what we thought, what their goals probably are, and what they try to achieve for them personally or as a professional, and how they probably would make their decisions on everything. Yeah. But well, that was the final notes. And in the end, I don't have my glasses right now. What's written there?
So these could help inform a proposition.
Yeah, exactly. And the next thing would be, of course, like finish that one. And the next thing would be to think about how we could use these propositions and these personas to develop, like, I don't know, tutorials or maybe posts of a certain type, or like that introductory session at the IndieWebCamps and stuff like that. We have kind of advertisement material in a certain way. How to explain that? Yeah, that was basically the recap of what we started last time, and we worked, I think, even 1 or 2 hours longer than the IndieWebCamp actually, and we just had to stop at that time because we took so much time.
It was really hard to find only those 5 guys, because you always said, yeah, but there's one guy that's just right between those two, and maybe we should take them also on the list or not. That was really hard at the beginning, and I think it was almost half the time finding those personas and then filling them. Then
So who of you is totally new to this? It's your first IndieWebCamp. So maybe you could like tell a little bit of how you experiencing this and how you experience it. Like how did you? Yeah, exactly.
For me, the moment when I actually used IndieAuth to sign into your wiki was when I got the follow-up email that there were only 14 people so far in the guest list or participant list. That actually made me do it. I think if that email wouldn't have reached me.
And how did you learn about the IndieWeb at all? Are you going to be on Telegram?
Yes. Like I learned it from my brother actually, who said I should go to be on Tellerand.
Okay.
And then I looked up what was going on before.
Okay.
And this was something of my interest. I was, though, not really sure if I'm right here, because there was, for me, not enough information informing me about what's gonna happen on this event. It looked more like a event just for developers and more like a hackathon or something, like applied coding, than what's actually happening here right now.
It's interesting. So this is an interesting data point because we have generally had IndieWebCamps in locations on the back of some other event happening, like the ones that I've organised in Brighton. We would do the weekend after the Deconstruct conference that we'd have on a Friday. And the theory, the hypothesis was it's a good way of, people would be in town anyway. So, and this is another example Mark's doing Beyond Tellerand, have the IndieWebCamp right before or right after. So that seems to be being borne out a bit anyway, so data point.
It worked, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. But the proposition of what's going to happen here wasn't clear.
No.
Okay.
Like it was.
Or who it's for.
Yeah, both of that. Like it was quite. Like the wiki itself was a little confusing with a couple of like links that did circles. But yeah, as I got it, it's still in the making, in its beginning.
The wiki's
been there for years.
It's been in the beginning for 6 years.
The wiki is
well, the wiki is not in the beginning, but
the wiki is one of those things where it's not really good at any one thing, but it's good enough for a lot of things that ends up so it's simultaneously the homepage and the proposition and explaining, and it's also the documentation and the specs and the everything. I mean, everything's a wiki page.
After a couple of visits to the wiki, I could like find the stuff I was looking for, and I could also show people like where to go, like look at this, this, and this, and then
I don't know
you
where to
get what it is about. But that took me also some time.
Believe me, it's total pain in the ass to put an event there because
Yeah.
there are like 6 places you have to put it into manually and keep it updated, of course.
No, like
But there's a wiki page describing how to do it. There's a wiki page describing how to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
How do you find that one?
It goes through the answer to any questions. Like, so tell me what is IndieWebCamp about? Oh, there's a wiki page for that. what's web mentions? Oh, there's a wiki page for that. It doesn't actually answer my question. Just
apart from that, like the process of actually using IndieAuth was fairly easy, and I'm not a developer. Like
yeah.
I know markup and a little, but that wasn't any problem.
Yeah, wikis.
I guess if you compare it to Beyond Telegram website, what could you take from that?
Yeah, but this is the thing where it's like the site is, it's trying to be that, which is, hey, there's a thing, it's really good, you should come to it, here's what it's about, a proposition. And simultaneously it's supposed to be a knowledge store that's searchable, that's where you go to look, oh, I want to find detail of this really specific IndieAuth realm micropub whatever thing.
It's almost like all the events need some kind of clear thing, because like when I'm trying to get people to come to the homebrew website club, there's not that many people who really understand what it's about. So it's getting them just to be clear about what it is actually happening there.
Yeah.
Are there actually any other digital touch points except the wiki?
There's the
Facebook
IRC
event.
channel, which
Which isn't really
I mean,
doesn't do a better job. So
no. Well, in the spirit of IndieWeb, there's everybody's personal blogs, but then, which kind of the point is, there's no
I mean,
centralized place.
organization
Exactly.
owned.
No, the wiki is that like the IndieWeb.org is meant to be where you would get that information. So that's. I don't think we should have. I think maybe we should change the focus to like certainly the homepage should be more propositional. And we can. My feeling is the power users. What was the persona's name?
I think Tom.
Tom. The Tom persona. It's okay to make that kind of person jump through some hoops because they're the power user. It's not okay to make the others jump through the hoops because then you've lost them. And it's gotten better. This is the improved wiki, by the way.
Yeah.
It used to be really, really.
In Berlin, do we had already the new website?
Yes.
Or? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just
It's
really
switched,
new.
It switched on July 4th, as far as I know, and yeah, this is the improved one actually. Improved, but there was a lot of discussion when they decided to like. Also, the domain was IndieWebCamp.com until last July, and then they decided mostly the people discussing in RSC and Tantic like blocked a lot of ideas as far as I remember that.
Yeah.
Also, there could be, or they were discussing about having a single site where all the events are listed in a structured way, which is not the case. Like here, if you scroll down, there are like 3 or 4 links for the next homebrew website clubs and IndieWebCamps. But there are like 3 or 4 other places as well where there are information about that. And it's like someone who's looking for an event that is going to happen, he will get lost in that.
Here is all places.
And it's always I get so many requests like, well, I've looked at the wiki, but why is there no information about that IndieWebCamp in Düsseldorf or Nuremberg on that site 2017? Well, because someone forgot it. But there is another page somewhere, and maybe on the homepage as well. So, and they were discussing having an events.indieweb.org,
Which somebody's got to maintain it. Because it doesn't get rid of the need for somebody to.
The next thing is, but that's a technical problem actually. It's really complicated to post an event there. It's much more complicated as it had to be because every homebrew website club is just the same. It's the same text, it's just another date. But it takes like 20 minutes to put it there.
So, yeah, I'd like to hear more from the people here.
What about the others? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I came here with Jan. We are attending Beyond Tellerrand as well. He told me about IndieWebCamp a little bit, and it sounded pretty interesting.
So you had a real person introducing you to that.
Yeah.
I have to say that word of mouth, one-on-one word of mouth seems to be way more effective than any written communication.
And your presentation is really good.
Okay. Yeah.
I used it now 2 times in Hanover, and at least one person I think is here because of that. So.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's actually what we want to have in a certain way, some kind of material that's helpful.
I'm also here because someone told me about it.
Yeah. I got first told by Paul.
Yeah,
Word of mouth.
share his story. Basically, I came from Beyond Tellerrand, so I checked out the event. I found it really interesting. Unfortunately, I can't make it, but I saw the side event. I think it was on Facebook, and I don't have a personal web page, but I know he has. I said yeah, you should sign up so I can come as your apprentice and check it out. But I really didn't have understanding. Okay, is this something for me because I'm not a developer?
Yeah.
Will I be overwhelmed? How, I thought this is maybe a hackathon and then I need to provide I don't know, need to write some code? Or is this something that I can catch up on? Or
This is a common misconception. Well, I think we're miscommunication on our part. Which is actually quite often in the kickoff, I will start out by saying it's not just for developers. And actually, if anything, we should be encouraging more and more designers to come. And if you are a designer at an IndieWebCamp, you're actually in a great place because everyone will want to have your skills on what they're working on. There's plenty of developers, and that's great. But it's the other skills are actually more in demand, I would say, on the second day when we're trying to build something, trying to design things, trying to sketch out flows, all this stuff. But that is not going to come across from any of the materials we currently have because we tend to talk about the technical stuff.
There is a sentence somewhere saying that designers and others are also welcome, but it's
hidden.
And there's also these design first protocols.
Something
like this.
The protocols are actually secondary. It's about the UX.
And also signing up for the event was okay, I need to fill out this apprentice kind of form. Okay, I can do that. But then, what did I need to do? So it was not very clear. And then I saw the thing what you need to have your own personal page or something that was a wall.
Yes.
And I tried to sign up the last 2 days because I got the email. Okay, food. You signed up for food, but you're not on the list.
So I think, this hammers on what I was saying earlier, that the reason why that barrier was put in place, I think the time is long gone. And I think it was an imaginary, hypothetical reason to begin with, frankly. And I would rather have maybe some people who show up who are not actually going to contribute and are going to just want to discuss without doing. I'd rather have that if we also get people who come along for the first time who are genuinely interested but would have been put off by the barrier. I think the barrier is going to go. I have to say, the apprentice thing rubs me up the wrong way as well. Just it sounds a bit demeaning almost, you got the group and then you're not in the group but you can be an apprentice. I don't know, maybe that's me and I'm being a bit...
No,
maybe, it's just about the wording and phrasing.
You can just call it partner or something.
Yeah. But why the distinction? Okay, having your own website's great, and it's kind of the purpose of the IndieWeb, but to immediately segregate people into the people who have their own website and therefore can sign up, and the people who can't, and therefore must, get a note from the doctor saying they're allowed to come to IndieWeb.
But
it's not exactly welcoming, is it?
On the other hand, it introduced me to IndieAuth. It actually made me use it, which is also positive.
That is a positive.
But
you could
also have here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a precondition for that. So can you describe like how would you like it to be? What would be the best way? What do you think?
Like better organized content, like make the important things easier to find. The rest can be the chaotic wiki. I also enjoy that. It makes it comfy to me. Like it has its own charm, which I didn't want to miss, the whole wiki thing. But like just make a organized landing page with like the event that you're looking for easy to find, and with 2-3 introductory sentences that point out who is welcome, what are we doing.
Because it's interesting, because I think all of that did go into this new and improved homepage, which is honestly a really improvement. But the link you would have probably got, presumably through Mark, whatever, because of Beyond Tellerrand, would have been directly to the 2017 Düsseldorf IndieWebCamp.
Mm-hmm.
And that page is assuming you've seen the homepage. Right? There's a lot of you don't necessarily want to duplicate everything that's on the homepage, but at least if you have never been to one before, go here.
Yeah.
Would be enough. Right?
And here there is.
Are you right? New, returning. Yeah. Two routes.
And on this page, there's like the people who this is for aren't mentioned.
Yeah, that's right. There's an assumption here. Well, if you've got to this page,
you made it so far.
Yeah, you whereas actually the whole purpose of links is that so they could get passed around in things like emails. So, or from other websites like Beyond Tellerrand. So it's true. Each IndieWebCamp page needs to a certain extent, work as its own homepage. Not everything on there, but the same journalistic principle of like the reverse pyramid type thing, right? Like up at the top should be the most important thing, and then there's more detail, and all the details can get pushed down, I think.
I think the problem with the improvement was that it was like technically driven. It was not like what can we do that we can present ourselves and the events best, but it was driven by like what can we do with MediaWiki.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the wrong way, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
there were strong arguments against something additional. They tried to put it on all there. This is what came out.
Maybe we should do it the other way around and make a brand new site on IndieWeb.org and then put something like wiki.indieweb.org and then put the wiki there, and not put the wiki on the main domain and expect people to find all the information. Because if you make it the other way around and say like we have events.indieweb.org, then people need to find that again, and they just land on IndieWeb.org and then they have this wiki and don't find the information they're looking for. Maybe it's the other way around is better.
I'm totally with you, but I wish you luck discussing that with countries.
I know. And breaking links is also not very good.
Yeah,
of course.
But yeah.
Yeah, so the question is, what can we do with all these?
Yeah, I think, I don't think we get to do year zero, start from scratch.
No.
It's got to be incremental. My feeling is there's some low-hanging fruit here. There's some like, if there was just this one sentence, that would have got me 50% more convinced to come to the event. And if there was this other image or paragraph, I would have been 75% more, just, and maybe that last step is always going to be a bit intimidating, there's no getting around it, but
can you track like how many people land here, or how do they behave when they open the, like do you have analytics or something? To see like how, like the dropout rate?
almost certainly not.
But what you could do is like make some kind of exemplary journeys to show that people are coming from different entry points, and then discuss with Tantec based on that, for example. I mean, just to
pitch it to Tantec.
Yeah.
So effectively, I get what you're saying, because what we have here, we're thinking of this is the event page with all the details that someone coming to this event needs. It is that, but it's also a landing page, because it was literally where you landed from an email or a link from
for
Beyond
some
Tolerant.
people.
Yeah, so it's trying to accomplish two things. It's trying to be a landing page and documentation for the event. Which I think we could do. I think
Which is actually a good idea,
Yeah.
but maybe not looking like this in the first place.
I think you assumed that we are already engaged because we are did sign up for the event, so we know what this is all about.
we are literally a starter pack. All right, before you show up, maybe read this, and it could be a link off to somebody's. It could be on your site or my site. Whoever wants to own that.
And regarding this idea with the apprentice and all this stuff is you can just mention if you have a project, it's fine. If you don't have a project, then you can join other people's projects and help them out or something.
Yeah, that you are
That's
welcome.
also mentioned.
Yeah.
Mentioned somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that got its own subdomain, did it? Okay.
Yeah. Same about the Indie Web Week.
That's
Right now.
2016.
.indieweb.org. Yeah.
Like this one?
It's.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I did.
So you put that together, yeah. So then you can send that link around.
I did
Right. Yeah.
because I think it's just more helpful. Only the wiki, and of course the wiki's linked from here
Yeah.
again.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, this is the future of outreach. Is you make a nice page.
At least it's a try. And I think the next thing is, of course, we have to discuss with people like Tantek about all that. But on the other hand, I think it's a community, and we are all doing it. So
Yeah. Do.
we should just like make suggestions and just do it.
Yeah. So with the persona exercise you started doing in Berlin, it's been useful.
Well, actually, we didn't finish it and we didn't work on it further. Probably Sebastian, who documented it in Berlin, he's the one thinking about it most of the time, and he will be in Nuremberg next week, so there's a good chance. And even a couple of more people. Sven will be there, and Christian will be there, and a couple of people.
So I mean, personas are one tool in the toolbox of things.
It's just the first step we made.
Or it's a step. I'm trying to think of if I were like working on a project for a client, other tools we would use. Competitor analysis. Are there any communities like the IndieWeb community or events like IndieWebCamps aiming for the same sort of people? And how well do they present their proposition? I mean, a few people mentioned hackathons as a comparison point, which I can see, it's different, but there is a comparison there.
Maybe not comparison, it just looked
Yeah,
like it.
sure. Yeah, probably, yeah. Bar camps are also quite wiki-like.
But I think the difference is that it's a quite an opinionated community, isn't it? It's like it's not just an event.
Right. There's a philosophy.
There is a philosophy. There is a community. The people are working on it constantly, and they try to achieve something special. So there is some good space.
So presumably open source projects, open source.
That's probably more.
Be the closest. Okay.
When I first looked at IndieWeb, I actually thought it would be an open source project. Like there were projects like IndieOrg and WebMention and stuff like that. I thought, okay, well, they are working on those projects, but they actually, it's not about the projects themselves, but about discussing the ideas and then doing the projects ourselves.
Yeah.
So basically, we are not gathering here to hack on those projects, but each of us works on their own projects.
Yeah.
And that's what I miss from the current landing page. That we just don't see that it's not actually about projects, it's about discussing the projects.
The central effort is not some code, but
Yeah.
the idea behind it, and everyone has his own code to achieve it. Yeah.
Do you actually have something like, I mean, I know it's already existing, so an
It's a
elevator
wiki
pitch
page.
is not, but like, do you have something filled up like an elevator pitch, like the format? like I don't know, this is blah 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 for this and this people with the unique differentiator, this and this, based, I don't know exactly how it goes, but
I would say not in an easily digestible form like that.
yeah,
We've got
like
things
really short.
Yeah, no, we've got talks, we've got articles, but nothing that's been condensed down into the snackable kind of.
Because that, for example, I always find very handy and.
Yeah.
That's
what
what
is
we're
it?
thinking about,
Yeah.
these introductory material stuff,
Start
tutorials, whatever, and to get people into the topic.
Yeah.
What I thought this morning when you gave the little introduction was the first thing that popped up was I would have liked to see that before. Like to have known that little talk before, because that would have made me feel better about the event, and I would have known like that I fit here, that I want to go here.
Well, of course, it's linked from somewhere.
There's a wiki page.
There's a wiki page about that. But yeah, you're right. That should probably be the front page. At least very early, something like that.
Because in there were very useful pieces of information.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so personas, competitor analysis. Well, that's how to think about it. If you think of other communities, things with similar problems. Because in the one sense, what IndieWebCamp is like when people who do things individually come together. You can imagine that'd be like food bloggers. A bunch of food bloggers get together. That's a similar thing, but not quite, because it's also, I'm not a food blogger yet, but I'd quite like to be a food blogger. You're also welcome and encouraged to come. So I'm trying to think of it. There isn't quite a
Code bar,
code bar. Yeah.
There you go. Just anybody.
Yeah, code bar is a more clear distinction between like, oh, I'm here to learn, I'm here to teach. And if anything, I want to get rid of the, master apprentice two-tier thing. But you're right, it does kind of appeal to the two sides. Personas, competitor analysis. Somebody mentioned analytics, but I think that's not that.
Because of
Touchpoint map. That's right. The flows. How do people get here? Where do they come from? Where were they before they got here?
And then maybe even like make a status quo and analyze it, and then from there on come up with like an ideal journey per persona, like what we would wish for.
Exactly. Yeah. So that feels like it's a natural extension of personas. Good. First personas, next flows. Okay.
Not
Personas
flows,
were just the idea of get hold of the people.
like not really flows. It's really like a journey.
User journey mapping.
Yeah.
Okay, user journey mapping. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, user journey mapping.
May I ask why not analytics? Because you don't want to use the known services, or just because of tracking?
Certainly wouldn't put Google Analytics on IndieWebCamp, that's for sure.
Yeah, but there are services where you actually
There are, and maybe we
keep
could
your
access to
data.
server logs, which have plenty. We don't need to know where people's cursors were at any particular time. We just need to know refers and
And where they go into the wiki
exactly
to actually
so
save their.
server logs will be fine. Server logs are already. See who we get hold of. Well, what's the deal with the wiki? Who literally owns it? Or
I think mostly Aaron.
okay, so stuff like this, like server
Yeah,
logs.
at one point Aaron's site was down and the wiki was down at the same point.
Okay,
It was
that's,
the whole
that's a
thing.
dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. Okay, then talk to Aaron
But
about server logs.
yeah, but that was also the question when they tried to change a couple of things, and then they always ask who's going to do this, because it can't be Aaron or so. That's
Yeah, but
probably
something
why a lot of things didn't happen.
Sure. Things on the front end, I can see how we
well,
can do
things
that.
nobody understands MediaWiki except like 2 or 3 people.
Right. Okay. Maybe step one is some of us need to learn how MediaWiki works if we want to be the change we want to see in the wiki. Yeah, user journey mapping would be really good actually. Do that for each of the personas.
For the beginning, at least for a couple very distinct ones.
Yeah, pick a time period. I'm going to be on Tellerand. I've received an email.
You could have a session like this at every event, which gives you, I think, valuable insights.
Well, yeah, I guess that's getting close to usability testing in a way, isn't it? It's sort of what we're getting at here. We're trying to get from you. What was it like? It's after the fact. Like we weren't there to observe you. Get the email, go to the website, blah blah blah. So this is our
qualitative interviews.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very bad qualitative interviews. Pull some random people in off the street and show them the wiki. What do you think? Probably not. Not a good idea. So, you thinking tomorrow that you might want to?
Yeah, it's a question. Would anyone be interested in working on that tomorrow?
Would love
we
to,
can't
but
be
we're
here
not
tomorrow.
Oh wow. Where are we going?
I would love to, but there's so many other projects I would love to. So
well, we've got the whole week. So.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, who's going to be in Nuremberg? Maybe this is one for Nuremberg. Just because you're saying so more, it'd be like the Berlin gang getting back together.
Maybe.
Yeah, it seems like they just registered today.
When is the one in Nuremberg? Next week.
Next week.
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah,
okay.
That'd be great.
You're very welcome.
There it is. But obviously that's not it because it's in the future. But that was the last
You have to click this and then you're back on the wiki again.
It's no, the fact that you do have a separate page, you made a landing page basically.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just that maybe one paragraph at the beginning saying we want to do this, and if you are one of the kind that's for you. Would help maybe.
First time here? Been before?
Yeah.
Is there some kind of explanation video? Because it's all a wall of text, and I think when I want to understand an idea or a concept, I go to YouTube and YouTube it, and there's a 5-minute video explaining IndieWeb, for example.
There are some videos, but they're more like conference talks.
Yeah.
So time-wise, it's a bit of an investment. Yeah. 30 to 45 minutes. You're right. 5-minute
explanation video.
Sketchnoting. Something.
Elevator talk.
The elevator, yeah, it's basically the video version of the what's one.
And you can use like what was his name, like the guy without legs?
Tom.
Sorry.
You can use Tom as like an animated little.
The drawing. I thought it was a real person.
It is
I was
a
like,
real
Tom is a veteran.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tom is over there. You can ask.
He's always in the other room.
Yeah. I mean, he knows about himself.
Yeah. Right. We should wrap it up.
Right.
We'll all gather back in the main room just to wrap it up. And okay. Thank you. I'll stand in the room. We're going to wrap it up. Ooh.